Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Hello there, and welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I am starting off another week with the new year with a fantastic guest. We have been talking on Facebook and trying to get together for so long, and I'm so excited to have her here this morning. So the introduction of her name, though, is kind of quite the deal for today that we're going to talk about, because she has written a couple of books. So Zita Barbara Sanders, right? I just always want to say it and look at people say it right. So she has written some books here in San Antonio and is involved a lot, with media, doing, so many different things, and been a highlight in San Antonio. And she has written a couple of books and children's books. And so that's what caught my attention. And I'm just so excited to have you on here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are here in town.
Yeah, so I'm Zita Barbara, and a lot of people know me for my music and creative skills, and I've been posting a lot of fashion design, so I'm actually wearing that right now. This is one of the designs I've been
too, because that is for those of you that are on YouTube, you can see she's got her little fashion. That is so I've been
beautiful. Doing different people's portraits, people that send me a request. I'll do your portrait, and then we can place it on different bags, different scarves.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's something I'm doing just to get ready for Fashion Week New York. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, so everyone asks me about my name because it's a little bit unusual, Zita. And I always tell people it's not that out of the ordinary, because it's really like Rita with a Z. But I think the Z just throws people off.
It does, yeah. Well, we talked about that a little bit beforehand, about how it seems, maybe it's a Texas thing. I don't know, no offense. I've been here all my life, and I know how we are. But, an American thing or whatnot, that different names tend to cause different problems for people, especially kind of in their middle school years. And, having a different name is always, tough to get by when you're younger years in school. And so we tend to kind of set those unusual names aside, but really it's a very beautiful thing. It's Zita is just wonderful. I love it.
I only accepted it recently. I used to always go by Barbie. So, it's just coincidence that my middle name is Barbara, and Barbie is short for Barbara. Sure. But the story behind it is that I had made a tantrum in a Toys R Us, and I was like, I'm going to be going by Barbie to my mom, because I have my mom's exact name. It's a name that's given to me actually on accident. She wanted to call me Priscilla or Gabriella after Coco Chanel, and my dad just made a mistake and put her exact name on the birth certificate.
Gotcha.
So now I had that name growing up, and it was not in the time where if you had a weird name, it was cool. Sure. So right now it's cool, but for example, there's that country song, A Boy Named Sue.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't apply now.
It doesn't.
It's that's cool.
Exactly, that's all. Well, and so what, we're kind of applying this to then is your books about, being different and bullying and growing your self-esteem, which these days is very important. So I see a lot of children in my office, adolescents, who struggle deeply. My own daughter even struggled very deeply with, bullying in school over her name too. They all, Marjan, Alia Hattie, very different names as well. And so, they went through a lot of that. So I see a lot of patients in my office who, you don't see, like I told you, I don't see the healthy kids. You see the ones who have lots of difficulties, mostly emotional problems. And so I get to see a lot of them, and it's all centered around something self-esteem wise that they're struggling with, and that's what you write about in these lovely books. I want everybody to see these are gorgeous.
Yeah,
she illustrates this.
Yeah, so I
crazy awesome, crazy. I just think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I wrote Hands. It's a kind of my artistic rendition of Don Quixote. It's about a guy who, I feel like there are people who struggle to express themselves, especially creatively, or even get out there. They might have like a dream inside of them, but they keep it inside. And so this is about a guy who actually wants to be a radio host. So he wants to be a radio host at the very beginning, and then he isn't sure if he quit his job or not. He goes to a psychic who says he needs to get in touch with his past self, who was an artist, and then he tells a girl that he meets on a blind date that he is indeed an artist when he's in this kind of limbo area, gray area with his job. And in following through with the facade, he actually learns art, and through like the comedy, the audience learns art.
Wow.
And but it also has like a lot to do with exploring self-exploration, your self-concept, building your confidence. And it has a lot of like those little tidbits in there. And then with the Little Blue Worm, that one is just particularly about bullying and about being okay with being different. This is a modernized version of the Ugly Duckling. So if you grew up in like the early 2000s, early thousands, is that what it is?
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Early thousands, there was a lot of makeover shows, like Extreme Makeover and
the weight loss shows.
The weight loss shows. What's that one? That really big one. I forget, but anyhow.
I try to forget a lot of the early 2000s. I'm kidding.
They always made like those Ugly Duckling references.
Right.
And then you get kind of the feeling like the Ugly Duckling is about changing who you are to being unrecognizable to
from where you really are, from who you really are.
Yeah, and I feel like that's actually a really unhealthy thing to strive for.
Sure.
So
very dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, and so, what I did with the Little Blue Worm, it's like a little worm who can't fly, and he's getting picked on for not being able to fly. But then at the very end, when he loses all the friends and everybody ostracizes him, and, he's as unpopular as ever, that's when he finally flies, but he goes and joins his real tribe. Like he's not going to, he didn't do it to impress anybody.
Sure, that's really, really beautiful. And so I think that's at the heart of so many. I talk about the young, the adolescents, the old. I think that is the heart of everybody's struggle for themselves, is to find their self-worth and their value in themselves, and not to try to mold to whatever society is trying to push you or bring you to be. Right. Social media, I think, has done, and I try not to bash social media too much. I'm all over it, and I do a lot on it, and but I do think that it has changed the face of humanity entirely.
It has.
I think that's what has made it very difficult for children, even, or adolescents, because they're always comparing themselves to somebody else, showing that, I'm the best, I'm the happiest, everything's going well, when really underneath, I think people are just very, their self-value and their self-worth is very, very low. And I think we're trying to just put our better foot out there. I love what you say, though, about trying to change yourself into something that you're not, trying to belong, when really you should be changing more into something that you are.
Yeah, well, there's more
being a part of.
Yes, right. Yes. And there's more benefit to that, because what ends up happening, you could do it the hard way, which is you try to fit in so bad. Sure. And
we all do that,
with my name, for example. So in elementary school, it was easy enough because I could talk to one teacher and say, call me Barbara, and I'd be Barbara the rest of the year. Sure. I'd be Barbie the rest of the year.
Right.
I learned in middle school that you had to go from class to class to class to class. And if there was a substitute teacher, then I would have to address it before the rest of the class. So then I became this person known, like, running class to class like a nerdy girl, trying to make sure that there was no substitute. And I was doing all of this work. Oh, there was this one particular moment where one person, I'm going to call him Brandon, like to change his name, found out my real name, and it was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And he was wearing steel toe boots, and he could tell that it was going to cause havoc if he like told everybody. So then I was like begging him. I was like, do not tell people my real name. Don't do it, And then he ended up, something about the exchange, he ended up kicking me with his steel toe boots in the the shin area, like the bone. And
Ow.
Yes, no, not only ow, it like scraped the skin. And I didn't even realize I was bleeding until like swim practice later that evening. And it created like a permanent scar.
Great.
But even then, I wasn't like, because he said, I can make you cry. And like, I knew if he announced my name, that would make me cry.
Right.
But I didn't expect him to kick me there and that I'd be bleeding or anything.
Sure.
And it was painful. And I was just taking the pain, but I was like looking at him like still not
going to cry.
not gonna cry.
Oh, bless your heart.
But all that trouble I did to like hide my name. All that trouble to hide my name. And then I end up, growing up and people, doing my music under Zita Barbara, my real name.
And now you embrace it. So
and everyone thinks it's a stage name. They're like, it's so beautiful. How'd you? But right now we're in the time of like the weirdest name wins.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like I told you, the Wendy with the IE instead, or something you spelled different, said different, everything. You're right. And so it's good that we're finally kind of evolving now, able to be different. And what is that though? Being different. So if you're not a part of the crowd, you're different. And that used to be a bad thing. Now everybody is trying to differentiate themselves instead of being just a part in the same as the crowd, trying to find your different place and what's unique about you. And that's so much better. And I do think though, we still try to, hide those things and put our, put who we really are underground. That's just not healthy. And so no wonder we have all these, issues in our life, but.
Oh, that was my original point.
Good. Yeah.
She brought me back. So all of that work was unnecessary. I'm going to just say that you end up, when you try to fit in, you end up putting so much work into it, and you feel so outside of who you actually are.
It's a lot of energy to expend.
It's a lot of energy that goes sometimes a lot of money, sometimes, because it depends on how far you go with it. You might do plastic surgery. There's some people who I've seen try to do plastic surgery to look like their favorite celebrities.
Sure.
So you do all of that work just to realize like, no one actually really cares what you do.
Right.
So then you actually...
They're too busy in their own insecurities. Honestly, I didn't pay attention to too much of your insecurities, except middle school. And they pay attention,
Yeah, so if you're in middle school, hang in there. It gets better.
It does. That's what I tell them all the time. Just wait. It does. It gets better. I promise.
It does get
just
better.
hang on.
Yeah, it just happens to be a really rough time if you're going through that. Absolutely. And you might like the next books that are coming up, because I'm going to be writing for that demographic, that the teenagers and that coming of age type of book. I recently read a book, Hollywood Park by Michael Jolet. He's the lead singer of the front of the band, the Toxic Airborne Event. And I mean, he has a bullying incident where, well, you just have to read his book. You just have to read his book. But it inspired me, like his story, it was like, okay, I need to come out and like tell my stories.
Sure, absolutely. I'm so glad you did. You're a great writer and your music is wonderful. So part of what I'm going to do is put all of your information on my website. So I'll start with that at drpbetterlife.com. So for those of you listening radio-wise, I have a YouTube channel and a podcast. And so iTunes, Spotify, all of them, you can hear all of that. And the website, also blog and do some things, but I also have a place for my guests so that you can find all of their information. fashion. So I'll upload all of her, places to find her books and Amazon, right? You're on Amazon?
Yeah, I'm on
That's
Amazon.
amazing. And so places for her books and her music and so her fashion and all. And so we will be able to find Miss Zita that you can find all of her good stuff. So drpbetterlife.com. So where can we find you though? Just mention now if somebody wants to look you up right now, where can we find you?
So this is going to be just perfect because, the great thing about having an unusual name is you just have to Google Zita, Z-I-T-A. It's Rita with a Z in front, and then Barbara. And then I guess almost everything comes up. So it's so super easy to find me.
Good.
And, that's what I'm saying. Like, you might hate something about yourself early on and go through all that trouble to hide your flaw, your insecurity. And if you're with the right people, you'll flourish and it will become something that you actually love. Right. So I never thought that my weird name would actually become something that, would blow up or would be easy to find.
Sure, right. And we're so glad it did. So, well, when we come back on the other side, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back on the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about what you are doing in San Antonio and beyond, because you are going to outgrow San Antonio very soon. And I'm so excited about that. But we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we will visit more with Zita.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Hey, welcome back. We are talking with Zita Barbara Jones. Zita Sanders. Oh my God, I do that all the time.
Catherine Zita Jones.
Exactly. I think that's probably what hit my brain for some reason. I'm known for screwing up people's names, so it's all good. But we are back with Zita Barbara Sanders, who is joined me. I'm so glad that she is here this morning because we've talked a little bit about her books, Hands, and the Little Blue Worm, which you can find on Amazon. And I've got, for those of you on YouTube, I want you to kind of see the cover so you can identify it. But this is beautiful, beautiful stories about people finding themselves and their self-worth and self-esteem, but especially the children's book is absolutely wonderful. Wish I'd had this around when my kids were young, because I think that would be a beautiful thing to read to your kids. But you do a lot of other things. And so we want to talk about music and your fashion that you also do.
Yeah. So this year I'm set for Fashion Week New York, and I have been. It has been crazy since 2020. I don't know if everyone knows this, but in 2020, I had a cancerous tumor taken out.
No. Just
as COVID was just new to the world, right? So because it was life-threatening, the tumor, the doctors could take it out.
Right.
But then the
stopped all
the
procedures,
CDC made this rule that it's no life, if it's not life-threatening, you can't do it. You can't stitch something back up.
Right.
So for a whole month, I had a gaping wound in my shoulder.
Oh my goodness.
And I was on pain medication.
Aww.
And it was the most painful period, and I
Sure.
was just writing and writing and writing. I think I wrote 180 pages. I wrote a whole book, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite like, I don't even realize like what I wrote, so I have to go back to that.
I edit and look that through. But you did. But is that so? About that time when COVID hit and all, so that changed a lot about what you have been able to do with your fashion.
Yes, so
side, right?
it has changed like the music industry.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, I was like seeing like the Industry Observer, or I follow different things.
Sure.
The Billboard page, and they were saying like his concerts went from making something thousands a day to like $3 or a month. Don't quote me on it, but I just remember thinking like, oh yeah, so the live shows are taking a hit, and all of the fashion shows that I were doing were up on a stage and with big crowds, and now everyone has to kind of adapt to that. And I think just right, I think 2022 is when everyone's kind of more adjusted. 2020
COVID fatigue, actually, but also too the lessening of the strains that are coming out. Hopefully, we haven't heard about the one from overseas yet. Usually by now, when we're in the middle of one, we're hearing about the next one coming, and so far it's a little quiet, which is, knock on wood, a great thing. But so you've got a New York show that you're hoping to do, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely prepping for it right now.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
that's the big time. It sounds like
that's gonna be the big time.
That's
like
New York.
I'm getting the music video ready. Actually, it is already ready, and there's a group out in the UK. I think it's Amazing Radio or a Songbird. I got selected off Reverb Nation, and that's where I mostly put my music. So if you want to find my music, it's Zita Barbara and then Reverb Nation. And
I'll have that on the website whenever this weekend when I'll put that on for you, so you can find her. Absolutely.
Yeah, and right now I just got the video done for Fashion Week New York and submitted it to that particular opportunity. And they let me know they're trying to be like the MTV, what MTV was in the 80s, which was introducing the world to music videos.
Sure.
They're trying to do that, but more over the internet, I believe. So they're looking and scouting different artists, and I put my stuff in that. So hopefully,
how wonderful.
Hopefully that
you're everywhere, but you're here today, and I'm so glad to have you. So for those of you who are going to want to find, between our books and our fashion and our music and everything that's going on, I'm going to be sure and load everything to my website at drpbetterlife.com, so you can find her there. And then you can also find my information there. For those of you who are listening on radio, you can go to YouTube and actually see us and see the books and everything. But you can also hear on podcasts, so iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Audibles, everything. We're all the way around out there. So as far as then the future, is music going to be your thing? Are books going to be your thing, or just all of it, everything you can put into it?
This has been like the one conflict of my life, is like finding finding my big area. Sure. The thing is I'm an overall creative, and I don't really know what's going to hit me. Like, if it just comes to me. So if it comes to me in music as I'm walking, and I'm like, it becomes nagging, whatever it is, it becomes nagging in my consciousness. And then I'm like, okay,
gotta get it out there.
Gotta get it out. And I understand if it's a song because it comes to me as music. I understand when it's kind of a art project because maybe I'm just painting something and I start like, it just flows out that way. Writing is like the latest development to me. I didn't really, I kind of knew growing up. A lot of English teachers let me know that, yeah, you're a really good writer.
So you are a creative, and you've got so much. And so you're kind of like me. What are you going to be when you grow up? Because I'm in my 50s, I still don't know. But now I don't care. I don't care what people think, and I'm good. So that's where we all want to be for sure. But well, I am absolutely thrilled that you came on with me today. I told you this really goes fast, and it has, but you will be able to find everything about her on the drpbetterlife.com. I'll have everything listed there for you. Also, where you can find all the information on me, where I am located here in San Antonio. I'm a practicing physician here. So thank you again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.